Hi everyone, it's Jessica. Thanks for being with me here today. So today I have these two fun 3x4 photos of my kids, actually just from the other week, and they were playing in and jumping in a gigantic pile of leaves. So I'll tell you a little bit more about those later. But I decided to create my fall themed layout today using these photos because I am participating in a hop with a bunch of other creative ladies here on YouTube. And what we're doing is each month one of us picks a sketch and then we all create based on that same sketch. So here's that sketch picked this month by Joanne. And she also picked a theme for us, which is something that we are thankful for. It could be anything, whether it's Thanksgiving or friends, family, whatever. So I'll tell you a little bit more about why I chose these particular photos in a little bit. But I went through my paper stash and I had these two different collections from my retired Close to My Heart papers. And so I am using some papers from the Cozy Up collection and then also a couple of stickers from the Crisp Air collection. Now this leaf pattern here I did cut at 3.5 by 12. I cut this red pattern, which does have a really subtle pattern to it, at 5 by 7. And then this brown plaid I cut at 6 by almost 8.5 inches. And I'm going to build these on a piece of white cardstock. So at this point, I'm just trying to get a feel for what that sketch showed. It was from Page Maps, and it was actually for an 8.5 by 11 layout, but I am building this on a 12 by 12 page. So this is kind of the basic of what that sketch shows. And so that's where I'm going to begin. So I am putting that one photo here because my son is running into the pile and he's like jumping and the camera caught him midair. So I'm going to have that one so that it looks like he's running in towards the middle of the layout. I had this paper strip here. This is a branding strip, a zip strip from one of the papers that I was cutting down. And I think I'm going to add that to the top as well because I really like all of those fun stripes. I'll try to put the title or something in here, I'm thinking, because that's what it shows on the sketch. Okay, so I know I'm going to want to do a little bit of die cutting. On the sketch, it showed the top of that red piece having, I think it had like a little like notebook kind of edge, which I do have a die for that. But when I pulled it out, I actually saw this other die that has like the torn edge kind of look, and I like that better. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm also going to grab my Mocha ink and just do a little bit of ink distressing to the edges of all my papers. A lot of times I just swipe it directly pad to paper, but I used a foam this time because I thought it would be easier to get across that die cut torn edge. Then I had a lot of fun going through my stamp collection and looking for any of my fall theme stamps. At this point, I'm just trying to get a couple of ideas for maybe some titles. I was looking for some leaves so I could create some embellishment pieces. And I had this one here. This is from the Cozy Up Cardmaking stamp set. And it does have a bunch of different leaves, which I think I'm going to use. And bonus, I have the coordinating die cut, so that's going to make it really easy. I momentarily thought about using the sticker sheets from those two paper packs and doing the leaves off the stickers as my embellishments instead because they are really pretty. But honestly, I think I'm going to need more leaves than I have stickers. And even if I used both sticker sheets, the style of each of them is just a little bit different and I didn't really want to mix and match. So I'm going to do my own leaves later. I did find this tag though on one of the sticker sheets, and so I'm going to try to work that into my layout. I really like how it kind of brings some of that white from the base page into the center of where I have all of those pattern paper. So not sure yet where I'm going to work it in, but I'm definitely going to keep that into the layout. I was getting a little frustrated with trying to figure out the placement of that tag, so I set all of that to the side and I thought I'm going to work on making my leaves so that way I can get an idea of how those will look. So I didn't want to spend a lot of time with markers or colored pencils, stamping and coloring these in. So I'm going to go the quick and fast and easy way. What I'm doing is grabbing some blending brushes and I'm just putting a little swatch of color down onto some white cardstock, and I'm not even being very careful about like the blending of things or what they look like. They kind of look like a hot mess right now, but that'll end up being okay because I'm going to stamp over them, and none of that blending will matter. It'll just end up looking honestly like leaves that you see on the ground outside. So I did do a couple of mixing of colors there. For my Close to My Heart inks, I had Sundance, Paprika, Toffee. I can't remember, I might have even brought in a little bit of Scarlet. But then I'm just grabbing those stamps off of that stamp set, and I'm going to stamp them with my Misty stamping platform here and some brown ink. So I end up adding even more ink to all those other white places and using as much room of this white cardstock as I can. I just made a ton of leaves, and I was trying to get a whole bunch of different colors down there. So some have like brown and red, or, you know, the orange and yellow, just a variety. You can see here what that looks like when I was done with all of my die cutting. So I think that those turned out really fun, although it was a little bit of a long part of the process. Okay, so I'm back to trying to figure out this layout here. I don't know, even though I was following the sketch, something about these photos and where this tag was going to go and trying to get the leaves on, it was really bothering me. So you'll see me kind of move a bunch of things around here and try to make something work, but in the end, I'm going to go in a different direction. I did pull a couple of sentiment stickers off of the one sticker sheet because I still wasn't sure at this point what the title was going to be. And I think one says Dancing Leaves and the other one says Beautiful Change, which are lovely stickers for fall. But the pictures are of my kids playing in a pile of leaves, and the sentiments on them felt a little, I don't know, mature and kind of like more of an adult fall than, you know, kids playing in leaves. It didn't quite have that like youthful vibe that I was looking for. So I do try a couple of times to work those sentiment strips in, but in the end, I don't end up using them at all. And so I'm just kind of playing, like I said, right now, trying to figure out how my leaves are going to go. And I still just was not loving it. So again, I set that to the side and went somewhere else. I stamped like a faux stitching all the way around the edge of my paper while I was thinking about it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to come back and try this again and see if I can get this to work. So I took my leaves. I'm like, I want to do a little bit of gold shimmer on them, and I'll let them dry while I kind of think about how I want to bring this page together. So this is my gold shimmer brush from Close to My Heart, and I just kind of used it to paint over the veining of the leaves. And then, like I said, I'll set it off to dry so that way while I contemplate how I'm going to lay out my photos and embellishments, these guys have some time to dry. They end up looking really pretty. I'll show you here. You can see some of that fun sparkle that the gold shimmer brush leaves on the leaves, and it looks really pretty in person. Okay, so I decided that the problem I was having was the placement of the photo. So I'm going to break from the sketch here and try to figure something different out. I just didn't like how they were staggered and one was higher than the other. Something about that was bothering me. And so I want to move them so that they are side by side. And then I'm going to slide them over to the right so I have a little bit more room for that tag, and then I can kind of build some of that on top of that red piece of pattern paper. Still trying to work in those sentiment strips, but they're just not working for me. So these photos, like I said, they're meant to be youthful and fun and kind of playful. Oh, I'm going to map my photos on a piece of cardstock here now that I've decided to put them next to each other. But in the photos, my kids are just playing in the leaves. They've been doing that a lot this fall. They go out and they rake them up themselves because they really want to make a big pile and jump. So, of course, that has been a lot of fun. But I did pick these two photos for our theme of something we're thankful for because my kids have a balance calendar at their school, so they get a week off in October. And they don't have to go to school. And so I'm still at work and at school, but they are not. So they spend quite a few days over at my in-laws' house while I was off at work, and they just had the time of their lives. My father-in-law took the tractor out and got all the leaves pulled together, was helping them make these giant piles. They were going out and like hiding themselves in the leaves. In fact, the one day I went to go pick them up and I knew that my son was in the pile of leaves, but honestly, I couldn't find him. I couldn't see him. He was like buried that well. But they just had so much fun. And so I was just very thankful that they have this opportunity to have a little break from school and spend some time with their grandparents and just, make some of those fun fall memories. So that was why I picked these 2 photos for this month's theme. Okay, so I went ahead and added those leaves in a couple of different clusters. And then I'm going to change my mind about the title. I'm not going to use those sentiment strips because they just were not working for me. And instead, I did a little bit of die cutting with one of the alphabet Stamp and Thin Cut sets that I had from my Hip Kit Club. And I'm just going to cut out the word that says jump because really that's what they're doing. They're just like jumping into this pile. And then I used, there was another stamp from one of those stamp sets I showed earlier, and it said, simply enjoy these moments or something along those lines. And I'm going to stamp that underneath my jump title. And then I'm going to stamp a whole bunch of journaling lines all down the right-hand side of the photo because I feel like I could definitely fill in the journaling with lots to say for this layout. I went ahead and added a little bit of ribbon and twine to my tag, but even so at this point I felt like I still had a lot of white space in that bottom left corner and then even a little bit up in the top right corner. So I used my Dina Wakley Gilt gloss spray to add a couple of splatters. I started splattering and almost forgot that I had my photos on there and they were exposed. I was like, oh my gosh, let me grab some scrap paper and make sure that I cover those up real quick. Luckily, when I had first started splattering, I didn't get any on my photos and I managed to save them. So yeah, I think that once I have those splatters on there, it just does enough to fill in that remaining white space. And I'm going to call this layout done. So it was a lot of fun. So nice to document these memories that just happened not that long ago. So like I said, this is part of a hop here on YouTube, and the other ladies used this exact same sketch and theme to create their projects. So make sure you check out the playlist that is going to be linked here at the end and also in the description box down below. There are some really fabulous, creative, fun ladies that are part of this hop, so you don't want to miss their projects. Thank you so much for watching with me. I hope you guys are having a great one. Happy crafting. Bye.